From the headquarters of Telesur English in Quito, Ecuador, this is From the South. I'm Jose Daniel Lopez. Brazil's presidential election will be decided in a runoff. Far-right Jair Bolsonaro ended up in first place, with left-wing Fernando Haddad in second. The runoff is required as no candidate won a majority.
With these numbers, as I have said, we will go to a second round. There is no way we can announce the president with the results at this stage.
Our correspondent in Brasilia, Adriana Sivori, has more details.
Brazil will have runoff elections in a few weeks as no candidate won more than 50% of the votes. So now 2 of them will be on the ballot again on October 28. They are the far-right candidate Jair Bolsonaro of the Liberal Social Party, who said that if he wins the elections, he will further reduce the size of the public sector, and the left-wing candidate Fernando Haddad from the Workers' Party, who said his government will be inclusive for all. On Monday, Fernando Haddad will visit former President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva in jail. He will then give a press conference. This is the current political panorama in Brazil.
While he ended up in first place, far-right candidate Jair Bolsonaro didn't reach the 50% required to win the presidency, obtaining 46% of the votes. Meanwhile, Workers' Party candidate Fernando Haddad won 29 of the votes. As for the rest of the candidates, center-left candidate Ciro Gomes remained in third place with 12% of the votes, and right-wing candidate Giraldo Alquim and Enrique Meireles won 4.7% and 1.2% respectively. In this map, we can see how the different regions of the country voted. In red, we find the areas which voted for Fernando Haddad, and in blue are the areas which went to Jair Bolsonaro. We're joined now by Juliano Cortihinas, a professor of international relations in the National University of Brasilia. Hello, Juliano. Thank you for joining us.
Hello. Thank you very much for inviting.
What can you tell us about Sunday's results? What do they mean for the country?
Well, the country has been divided for a while already. The far right against a more moderate left. But there's a lot of hate in the country. It worries me that the Brazilian society has been divided, not only by this election, but by differences in how people see values, how people see that their lives should go on. There is a strong risk for the Brazilian democracy, I think, a risk that comes not only because Jair Bolsonaro has threatened the country's democracy in several ways, but also because I see that in the population, within the population, there's a lot of hate, there's a lot of anger. This began obviously because of several mistakes made, committed by the Workers' Party here in Brazil during its administration. But that relates with these people's anger and the feelings that they should be taken out of the presidency. And the moderate candidates couldn't reach to the people, so they couldn't show their capacity to improve people's lives. And we have a very strong left that comes from the Workers' Party voting base, and very far right represented by Jair Bolsonaro. So the moderates lost by 2 very extreme candidacies.
Now, Juliano, were you surprised by the amount of votes Jair Bolsonaro obtained?
Well, not by the votes he obtained for the presidency, but I was very surprised by the votes obtained by the candidates to Congress and well, not only the federal Congress, but to the state legislatures obtained by the candidates that he supported. So he won big time in Congress. We will have a very conservative Congress, and that was surprising. A lot of the older and more experienced decision makers from the left lost big time in the election. So that was very surprising. So if Bolsonaro wins the presidency, which I think that will happen, unfortunately, in my opinion, if he wins, he will have a lot of support inside the Brazilian Congress. So he may really change the way Brazil's politics is run.
Now, what we can expect from the runoff elections in a few weeks? Do you think Workers' Party candidate Fernando Haddad will get more support?
I think that he will get more support. Some of the voters that voted for Ciro Gomes, for example, will probably support Haddad now. Some of the people who even voted for a more moderate right candidate, Geraldo Alckmin, may support Haddad also. What I think is that we have a contest in which democracy is at risk. So in that sense, in my opinion, Haddad should now move to a more moderate speech, to a more moderate discourse, and he should look for supporters even in the moderate right, since he represents a more democratic posture if compared with Bolsonaro.
Well, thank you so much, Juliano, for sharing your information with us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Moving on, both Jair Bolsonaro and Fernando Haddad spoke after the results were announced Sunday night. Let's listen to what they had to say.
Only one people, we have only one flag and only one heart, our union. Our union will make it that we have a decent government, a government that works for the people, and from our liberty we have the way to put people serious and coherent to lead ministries that will give a response for what the people need. That I'm very honored for the votes that I received today that guarantee the Workers' Party to the second round. I would like to tell you that I am that the results are very expressive in the sense that we have to face the risks that democracy in Brazil is running.
Supporters of far-right candidate Jair Bolsonaro have been protesting the results. A group of supporters burned handmade voting machines in Sao Paulo. They said issues with the counting prevented Bolsonaro from having an outright victory. At the moment, surveys suggest the outcome of the second round is uncertain. But Bolsonaro's lead has set off alarm bells for Brazilian progressives, especially when it comes to women and minorities. After Sunday, Brazil will now have a conservative Congress. This will make it difficult for Fernando Haddad to push for social policies, were he to win on October 28.
I already knew the results. I knew it would be Haddad and Bolsonaro in the runoff, and I'm confident, even though I think we already lost because of the conservative Congress we've elected. So it'll be hard to govern, but I think we'll resist and Haddad will win the runoff.
I really felt my heart leap into my throat several times this evening, but I'm very happy that we have managed to go to a second round.
The outcome of these elections is also critical to the welfare of Brazil's indigenous people. One of the campaign promises of Jair Bolsonaro has been to end indigenous reservations. On Sunday, members of the Mato Grosso community threw arrows at the military carrying ballots to their village. The indigenous community wanted to vote in the city instead. Native Brazilians make up 0.4% of the population.
Here, people are, so to speak, isolated. We are forgotten. But in the election period, yes, we have to vote. Vote, vote. But, well, we need help elsewhere.
All, or the majority of people in the community are here to vote. Yes, the majority is voting today, and that's good.
Brazilian social leaders have also reacted to the outcome of Sunday's election.
It was very difficult for us, because all the right-wing parties united against us. Now, it is very important that the whole working class of Brazil work together on the lead-up to the runoff, to define a common direction for the country.
Brazilians gave a clear message during this election. They want to have a discussion on the direction the country should take, whether it's to defend democracy or to accept the future the other candidate envisions. We see the first one as a defense of popular sovereignty, a way to increase employment, to evenly distribute income and bring back the rights that have been previously taken away from us. Bolsonaro has to come forward and engage in a public debate about these issues, something he failed to do in the first round. The people show they want to see a debate over the future of the country, and the one who can clearly define this future and unite the country is Fernando Haddad.
Many experts feel the current social and political climate in Brazil has become very polarized. We spoke to socialist Miriam Adelan of the Federal University of Paraná, who gave us an insight on the issue.
A lot of people are speaking about how the conditions in Brazil today are very similar to what they were in Germany with the rise of fascism. And I definitely think that there are parallels, just large masses of frustrated, impoverished working people, and people who are disaffected, who aren't unsure about their place in society. And I know that a lot of people were actually counting on women, because one quite positive phenomenon has been the resurgence or perhaps the emergence of a feminist movement.
International observers have praised Brazil's voting technology. They say the system is one of the most reliable in the world. However, some of them believe the spread of fake news during the campaign has played a key role in their final result. They are suggesting that results be annulled if this is proven to be true. Continuing on this topic, many experts attribute the rising popularity of Jair Bolsonaro to the spread of misinformation on social media. On Sunday, we talked to Ana Cha, a member of the landless workers movement, about this issue.
What we have seen was the propagation of fake news, and a lot of people just have information from social media. So if they were still have not decided and received some kind of information from the family groups of WhatsApp or from the Facebook saying that Bolsonaro is the possibility to change Brazil against the corruption and against violence. So they somehow just receive that information and accept it. So internet is also a battle, a camp of battle that we need to be more present. But mainly from the part of social movements is on the street, is talking with people. We have been doing that the last days. We have been seeing that a lot of people have just decided to vote on Bolsonaro, but don't have arguments to vote on him. When you ask him why will they vote on Bolsonaro, they don't know how to explain why they will vote. So we really believe that if we can just spend some time talking with some of those people, we can revert their vote.
And finally, supporters of former President Luis Ignacio Lula da Silva gathered at a vigil in Curitiba. Just outside his prison cell, supporters cheer Lula on. They're optimistic about the runoff. Lula has continued to ask Brazilians to vote for the Workers' Party candidate. We'll take a short break now. Join us again in a minute.
Telesur brings you special interviews with social and political personalities. Monday, from Washington. Tuesday, from Mexico. Wednesday, from Caracas. Thursday, from Quito. Friday, from Havana. Analysis about our continent's reality. Weekdays, only on Telesur.
Welcome back. Authorities in Haiti have set up a makeshift hospital to help people injured in the earthquake that hit on Saturday. At least 14 people were killed and 150 injured in the 5.9 magnitude earthquake. Those most seriously hurt were taken by air ambulance to the capital Port-au-Prince for treatment. A 5.2 magnitude aftershock was felt on Sunday, but did not leave any more victims. Saturday's tremor is one of the strongest to hit Haiti since the 7.0 magnitude earthquake of 2010, which killed over 200,000 people. Mexico's indigenous communities are defending their homes and land from construction projects that threaten the environment. They're protesting against work started by the government of outgoing President Enrique Peña Nieto.
San Lorenzo Acopilco is a community located in the highlands of Ciudad de Mexico, and their land belongs to more than 2,000 co-owners.
They didn't take us into consideration. They passed through a hill, tore it down, damaging our water resources. We don't have water now. There are 7 damaged spots. This is really regrettable.
Those who are speaking out prefer to remain anonymous. They have been victims of intimidation and physical assault from groups claiming to be authorities. They then hand over land to the government on behalf of the community.
We were going to have a meeting regarding the work, but Mr. Gabino Sandoval and his people arrived to the main plaza to beat us. I was hurt that day.
The interurban train will cover 58 kilometers from Toluca to the capital city. This is a public and private funded project that didn't consult the locals.
In Mexico, we know of at least 500 social and environmental conflicts. Most of them arose from mega projects, and many times people living in affected areas don't know that a mine is going to be dug until the day the work starts. Then there are clashes, and it turns out that those projects have already been authorized years ago.
Villagers in the Texcoco Lake area are in a similar situation as the New Mexico International Airport is being built, and is estimated to cost $13 billion, 50% more than initially expected.
I dare to say that in Texcoco all the environmental considerations are fake. They have faulty data, and we have to sanction those technicians and government workers.
People from Defense of Earth Front and other social groups have fought against the new airport that has taken a large part of their land. Construction has destroyed farming groups and crops used for production and self-consumption.
Guatemala remembers the attack on the Mayan community of Saman when army troops opened fire on refugees, killing 11 people.
23 years ago, this place was full of tears, pain, and bloodshed. A Guatemalan army patrol trained their guns on resettled Mayans. The victims belonged to the Aurora community in the Chisec municipality, known as Alta Verapaz in the north. Some lived to tell the true life horror story.
First they threw a bomb. That is when my ear got hurt, and now it's left me deaf. Then I saw people dead and bullets passing through. Fortunately, the bullets didn't touch me.
Survivors remember that 2 children, 2 teachers, and a teenager were among those killed.
They are not to blame, but the army, who took their lives away, they also killed a teacher, friends, and family.
The massacre took place on October 5th, 1995, when the villagers were preparing for an event, the commemoration of the first anniversary of their return to Mexico. Ironically, they had sought refuge there to protect themselves from military repression back in the 80s.
Soldiers were not allowed to enter this community of the returned. That is why people started to complain, because the army entered saying they were invited to anniversary celebrations, but they were lying.
Because of this massacre, 14 military men were condemned. However, 11 are still fugitives. The survivors say they don't believe the state is actively pursuing justice on behalf of the victims and survivors.
Many people have come like you. They only interview, talk, and then that's it. And there's almost no pressure on the army.
On September 28th, the Inter-American Court of Human Rights held the state of Guatemala accountable for the massacre and ordered that investigations continue.
We'll take a short break now. Don't go away.
An occasion to enjoy the cultural diversity that defines our South American essence. Come along to find out the story behind these personalities, traditions, and artistic expressions that unite us as a whole. Real Lives, Friday, only on Telesur.
Welcome back. A UN report has confirmed that the goals of the Paris Climate Agreement are unachievable. In fact, global climate is on track for an increase of to 3 to 4 degrees Celsius. An urgent transformation of world economy is required to avoid global chaos. A UN landmark report warns time is running out to avoid disaster.
Limiting warming to 1.5 degrees C implies changes on an unprecedented scale. It means deep emission reductions in all sectors, the use of a wide range of technologies, behaviour changes, and a significant increase of investment in low-carbon options.
Limiting global warming to 1.5 compared to 2 degrees would reduce the number of people exposed to climate-related risks and susceptible to poverty by up to several hundred millions by 2050.
Carbon dioxide emissions would need to decline substantially before 2030 to avoid warming of more than 1.5 degrees C in the middle of the 21st century, followed by large-scale carbon dioxide removal.
The death toll from Indonesia's earthquake and tsunami has reached nearly 2,000. Authorities said around 5,000 people are still missing, indicating the death toll could still increase. In Palu, the worst hit district, recovery operations have partially ceased. The 7.5 magnitude quake triggered a tsunami, devastating the island of Sulawesi.
The situation there has improved immensely. We know that in the first 3 days everything there collapsed. No electricity, no fuel, no cell network, which made it very difficult for us to coordinate. On the 4th day, things improved, and kept improving all the way until the 10th day.
Evacuation is still ongoing. This morning we were informed of 4 more dead bodies. This number will keep rising, and the data is being recorded on an hourly basis.
And now let's take a look at more stories making headlines around the world.
Vote counting has started in Cameroon after Sunday's parliamentary and municipal elections. The final results are expected to be announced within the next 15 days. There are a total of 9 candidates in the presidential race. Incumbent Paul Biya is running for his 7th term in office. The election was marked by deadly violence in the country's English-speaking regions and the cancellation of voting in at least one affected area over security fears.
This is an unprecedented election because the Cameroonian people are fed up with a rotten system that has made us suffer for 36 years. We really want this victory to be for the people.
Interpol has announced that its president, Meng Huangwei, who vanished after returning to his homeland, has resigned. This comes after Beijing concluded an investigation against him for possible criminal activity. China has said it will continue to support Interpol's work and strengthen pragmatic cooperation with Interpol member states. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi have met in Beijing amid deteriorating relations and an ongoing trade war between both nations. The two expressed their grievances on trade and foreign policies. Wang urged the U.S. to stick to the correct path and stop its isolationist agenda.
We come to the end of this news brief. This and many other stories you can find at our website at telesurtv.net/English. And join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For Telesur English, I'm Jose Daniel Lopez. Thank you for watching.